Hare Krishna. Question from Prashanti Mataji. What are the English translations for the six systems of philosophy? Answer. There are no precise English equivalents for the conceptions and the worldview that is implied by each of these six systems, and that's why I have avoided using them, and most scholars avoid using any English terms. In general, different languages have evolved in different cultures, and often they have different underlying mindsets and worldviews associated with them. So often translation is a tedious task because one word, when translated from one language to another, can be stripped off of many of the connotations that it has in its original language, and can acquire many connotations. Connotations refers to implied meanings. Denotations are direct meanings. Connotations are implied meanings. So the words can lose many of their connotations which they had in the original language, and they can acquire many unwarranted extraneous connotations in the language in which they are translated. So still, I'll explain what are the rough equivalent that we can use. Nyaya is often translated as logic. So it is indeed a system of logic, but in the English language, logic is referring to just we say logical analysis, something which has a linear, thoughtful flow in terms of cause and effect and rational understanding. But Nyaya in the Vedic school of thoughts is not just logic. It also has epistemology. What is the right way of acquiring knowledge? And it itself becomes a complete worldview. So the Nyaya can be translated as logic. It is not exactly logic. Similarly, we have Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika is a form of atomism, which is sometimes translated by some people as Indian physics or Hindu physics or Vedic physics. So physics studies matter, and within physics there have been many theories. So one of those theories is that everything is ultimately comprised of atoms. So that theory is called as atomism. So Vaisheshika is often translated as atomism, and that is a rough equivalent, but the concept of atom that is in Vaisheshika is quite different from the concept that we have in modern physics. And again, atomism is just one school of thought, but Vaisheshika is again a comprehensive worldview in its own right. And then Sankhya is sometimes translated as metaphysics, but it is not that Sankhya alone is metaphysics. All the other branches of knowledge also have metaphysics in them. Sometimes Sankhya is translated as dualism because there is matter-spirit dualism in it. Sankhya has the concept of Purusha and Prakriti. So therefore, these two conceptions, whenever there is matter and consciousness, whenever the two fundamental realities that are proposed, that school of thought is called as dualism. So of course, when in the Vedic circles the word dualism is used, often it is used in different contexts. Say Madhvacharya's philosophy is called as dualistic, where it is said that actually the soul and the Lord are two. So that dualism is different. Here, so dualism is a word which sometimes used and sometimes metaphysics, but neither word is actually adequate. So when we are introducing new people to these six systems of philosophy, it's best to explain the conception and retain the original term rather than trying to use English equivalent which would be inappropriate in many ways. So similarly for yoga, some people use the word psychology because yoga focuses a lot on the mind, its analysis, the various states of the mind, and how the mind can be pacified. And even the asanas that are done, they are ultimately meant to bring the mind under control. So it's psychology. But again, yoga is much more than psychology. Yoga is actually about going ultimately beyond the mind to a spiritual level of existence. So pacifying the mind and then going beyond the mind. So psychology doesn't talk so much about going, psychology studies the mind itself, not going beyond the mind to some other reality. That's not the usual focus of psychology when it is studied in the Western knowledge systems. Then Mimamsa, with respect to, generally, most people don't use the word Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. They say Mimamsa and Vedanta. So Mimamsa can be roughly translated as ritualism, although it's a very generic term. And it is also a form of orthopraxy. Now there are two words over here, ortho and praxy. Ortho means that which is traditional, praxy means praxis. So there is orthodoxy and there is orthopraxy. Orthodoxy refers to doctrine and praxy refers to practice. So whenever there is whenever a school of thought sticks to, so basically every school of thought has two aspects to it. There are thoughts and there are the actions that it recommends or enjoins. So there is doxy and there is praxy. So that which is school of thought which sticks to very traditional forms of thought, that is called as orthodoxy, and that which sticks to very traditional forms of practice, that is called as orthopraxy. So Mimamsa is often called as orthopraxy because it sticks very strongly to the rituals, and since the rituals are unchangeable and the rituals have to be followed exactly in the same way if one wants the right results. And then lastly, of course, is Vedanta. Now some people translate Vedanta as theology, but that is actually a very inadequate translation, because Vedanta is not just the study of God. No, it is a study of the all of reality and a study of the absolute truth ultimately. So Vedanta essentially, as the word means, the end of all Vedas. So it refers to the conclusive understanding of the Vedas, and it is the most evolved form of philosophy which gives a comprehensive understanding of both the Vedas and the world as it is explained based on the Vedic worldview. So when we are using these terms, it's best to use these terms and explain them rather than try to fit some non-fitting English words for them. Thank you. Hare Krishna.